Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. Slightly different setup today. I don't want to miss an ounce of information, so I've sat myself in front of my computer so I don't miss a single thing, because yesterday Ravensburger gave us a huge information dump regarding the game coming out later this year. We got a release date, we got a product lineup, we got some new cards to look at, loads of other things. We're going to dive in. This one might be a bit of a longer one, but I really wanted to kind of keep this all into one chunky video that you can just sit down and enjoy, and hopefully it's got everything you're looking for in it. Would love to hear in the comments though if there's anything else particular you want to see. If you're new here, welcome. This is the Lumineers and we cover all things Lorcana. Every single little bit of news we cover here on the channel, so if you don't want to miss the next bit, make sure you've hit subscribe. Okay, that's the YouTubey stuff out the way. First of all, when is the game coming out? August 18th? Or September 1st, depending on how you look at it. August 18th, they are doing a local game store exclusive release, and then 2 weeks later, it's going to go into full retail. So what does that mean? So local game stores, often abbreviated to LGSs, are the kind of stores you would go to buy Magic singles, Pokemon singles, Games Workshop, Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, paint supplies, that kind of thing. It's the store that I manage is a local game store, so as you can probably imagine, I am incredibly excited about this news, not just because financially it could be quite good for me, but also I think it's a great move forward for Ravensburger to focus on game stores with this game. The reason being is that these games live or die, as far as the game is concerned, on their community, and the game stores are going to be the ones that are building that community. So it's a really important thing to do. As we've said on this channel before, this has got Disney on the box. It's going to sell like hotcakes no matter what, but if they really want to get that long tail out of the game and actually build a community who is interested in both collecting and playing it, and not just people buying it up early because it says Disney on it, then you've really got to go and support the local game stores. They've already said there's going to be a robust organized play system, so game stores are most likely going to be able to get hold of promo packs and things like that to give away for competitions. But this, out the gate, is just a fantastic announcement that game stores are going to be able to get the product and be able to sell it 2 weeks before a full retail release. So what does a full retail release mean? Well, that's where you're going to see it in places like Walmart and Target, or if you're in the UK, places like Tesco and Asda, and also most online large retailers, so Amazon, etc., will be able to release the game on September 1st. So if you want to get the game before anybody else, make sure you go and find out your local game store, get acquainted with them, let you know that you're interested in Lorcana, and see if they're already putting their names down. We at my store, if you're interested, we're in Southern Ontario. We've already got about 12 people with their names down for some of these some of this stuff when it comes out later this year. The only thing I will say is there is one way of getting hold of this stuff earlier. So far they've only announced a single convention appearance, and that is Gen Con, which is early August. I think it's the 3rd through to the 6th. It's in Indianapolis. It's the biggest, one of the biggest ones of the year. They are going to have a stand there, and there are going to be select products available to purchase for Gen Con goers. I am not 100% there yet, but it's getting pretty close to being confirmed that I'm going. It actually falls right on my kid's birthday, so I'm only going to be able to go for the first couple of days and then fly back so I can be at home for my son's birthday. But I think I'm going to try my best to get there, so if I do, I'll organise, like a little meetup or something. We can all hang out and talk about Lorcana and see if we've managed to be able to buy some of this product. So where is this going to be available? So for me personally, surprisingly, this isn't a worldwide release. I'm not surprised that it's not moving into Asian markets to start off with, because there is some licensing issues there. There is a company that already deals with Disney IP on card games over there, so that doesn't surprise me. But otherwise, I'm actually quite surprised at how limited run that this game is getting to start off with, at least. It's going to be available in the United States, in Canada, in the UK. It's going to be available in France and in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And as far as languages go, the game is going to be printed in English, French, and German. English obviously makes sense, and German, Ravensburger is a German company, and France covers, the other good chunk of Europe. The fact that this is not getting a Spanish language release and not getting a release in Spain or Latin America is mind-blowing to me. It's arguably one of the biggest markets in the world. Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world. I would love to know why it isn't coming out the gate in Spain and in Latin America. I can only hope that they're still working on sorting out licensing and distribution there, and at a later date before release it's announced that it is available there. But honestly, a little bit of a swing and a miss that for me. Okay, so that's when you're going to get it, that's where you're going to get it. How are you going to get it? What are you actually going to get? So as we already knew, the first chapter is the name of this first set, and it's the first set of 4 every year. So with this one coming out September, October, November, December, we'll probably see a Christmas release as well, or maybe it gets pushed into January and then that starts the full year for 2024. We know that there are going to be 204 cards in the first set, and there's going to be various ways that you're able to purchase them. Your bread and butter, the basic way that you're going to be getting these is with booster packs. Coming out of the gate, there's just going to be one type of booster pack available. It's going to contain 12 cards in it, and it's going to obviously be available in single packs, or you'll be able to buy the full box at most game stores. We know the breakdown of what's going to be inside the pack, and therefore we know the different rarities of the cards now. There's going to be 6 common cards, 3 uncommon cards, and then 2 slots for either rare, super rare, or legendary cards. So most likely it's going to be 2 rare cards, but chances are, there's a small chance at least, that one of those is going to be a super rare or legendary. And then the 12th slot is for a foil card of any rarity. So the absolute god pack could have 3 legendary cards in it, one of them being foil. Other than foiling, there's been no mention yet of alternate odds or variants. I think probably to start off with, they might keep that simple and just have foils be the chase cards. But as time progresses, I imagine we'll start to see variants as it goes on. 204 is a great size for a first set, so I have no real issues there. The next product that were announced are starter decks. There's going to be 3 starter decks, each of them in a 2-color combination of ink. First of all, we have Moana and Mickey, the Amber and Amethyst deck. Next up is Cruella, and our first look at this awesome Aladdin, I imagine a Dreamborn Aladdin, making an Emerald and Ruby deck. And the last one is 2 more arts that we've not seen yet, Aurora and Simba, making a Sapphire Steel deck. So all 6 colors are represented in these starter decks. None of the cards that feature in these starter decks are exclusive to them. They're all just pulled from the 204 in the main set. The decks are 60 cards, and that includes 2 foil cards of the characters on the box. So for instance, if you absolutely must have a Sorcerer Mickey in foil, getting this starter deck will guarantee that for you. The starter decks being 60 cards each doesn't really tell us much about how the game is played, but what I will say is if the whole set of cards is 204 and the starter decks are 60, and we can assume that the decks you play with are 60, I'd be very surprised if 1, it's a singleton format, meaning that you have to have only single copies of all cards, and 2, if all of those 60 cards are the characters and the actions that we've been seeing, which suggests to me that the energy system that we still don't really know about, the way that we're going to pay to play the cost of these cards, could well be built into the deck a la Magic. I'd kind of be surprised by that. Arguably, the mana system in Magic is the weakest part of it, and pretty much every card game that's come out since has tried to fix that by having a different way of energy working. But 60 cards seems a lot. I imagine we're probably going to see a deck that has play sets of cards, so maybe 3 or 4 of each card can go into there. That's probably what I'm seeing here with 60 cards and a 204 set. That's kind of how the rough back of the napkin math works for me. Also in the starter deck is a little rule book, 11 game tokens, again no idea what those do yet, and also a booster pack, which I think is fantastic. So the starter deck comes with a deck ready to go and that first sort of free bit of drugs from your drug dealer to get you cracking packs. I think it's a really great way of doing it. So those are your 2 core products. There are 2 more as well, the first one being the gift set. So the gift set is made up of 4 booster packs, 34 game tokens. The box art here shows what some of those look like, but again, we don't really know what the mechanics are there. You also get a guaranteed foil of 2 new cards that we're seeing for the first time this week. First one being Hades, King of Olympus, and the other one being Mulan, Imperial Soldier. We'll talk more about the actual cards in a moment. The other thing it does give you in this set is 2 oversized versions of these 2 cards. Now, oversized cards aren't something I'm particularly fussed about. If I am collecting a card game, I'm either shuffling the cards into decks to play or I'm keeping them nice in binders. Either way, oversized cards don't really do much for me. But you know, it is a relatively common thing. Pokemon very often have oversized cards. Magic used to have them in commander decks, which made a bit more sense because you would leave them, your commander cards sat outside of your deck and played differently. A lot of people are saying, oh, maybe that's what's happening here. I don't think it is. I think this is more of a Pokemon thing in that it's just a cool thing you can collect. Kids kind of like them, that sort of thing. I think that's all we're seeing here, really. And the final mainline product is the Illumineers Trove, where the gift set is similar to Pokemon's special collections. The Illumineers Trove is closer to something like an Elite Trainer box, or in Magic, it's closer to a bundle, what used to be called a Fat Pack. In it, you get 8 booster packs, 15 of the tokens, and also a rule book, 2 deck boxes, and then a larger storage box. I imagine just the whole thing itself is a storage box that's a bit nicer for keeping cards in. All in all, that makes your main product lineup. The big image that they show with all of the items on there, it looks like there's actually more, but if you take a look, it's just that one of the starter decks has come outside of the box. It's showing a whole booster box of the booster packs, and then it's showing regular booster packs, and then also sleeved booster packs, or blister booster packs they're sometimes called. All that will be is the exact same product. In fact, inside those larger ones there will just be a foil one, but they're made so that they will fit on a peg. More often than not, you'll find those ones in places like Target and Walmart, and then the regular just single foil packs are the ones that can sit under a glass cabinet and will most likely be sold in game stores. But as far as the contents goes, they will be identical. Very quickly, they've also briefly announced, it was not really part of the huge announcement, but it is on their website, that there's going to be a series of official accessories. The first one is card sleeves. Each pack of sleeves is going to be 65 sleeves, so I guess that's 60 for your deck and a few spare. And they've announced that they're going to be Captain Hook, Elsa, and Mickey Mouse. We don't know which Mickey Mouse it's going to be, but those are all 3 cards that we've seen. And I imagine it's just going to be the art from the cards spread over onto the card sleeves. Deck boxes have been announced as well. These are most likely just going to be plastic boxes that will hold a deck. They actually says that they hold 80 sleeved cards. It might just be that that's a standard box size that they're using, or it could suggest maybe that there's going to be a reason to need more cards than the 60 that are in your deck. There is a mechanic in a lot of card games called sideboarding, where you're able to keep a second pile of cards that you can replace other ones with in between matches to kind of tweak your deck to the to your opponent. But that's a real long shot stretch of the where's my little thing. There you go. That's my speculation. It could just be that it holds 80 cards. They're going to have, again, the same Captain Hook, Elsa, and Mickey Mouse on them, which is cool because you can make a match. They've also announced play mats, which is great. These are going to be cloth mats with a rubberized bottom to keep them still. Basically a mouse mat material, if you can imagine that, but larger, enough to fit all of your cards on as you're playing the game. They've announced Maleficent, Mickey Mouse, and also Maui. That's the only mention of Maui anywhere in all of this that I can find, so we've got no idea what he looks like yet, but I'm taking that as a confirmation that there is going to be a Maui card, alongside us seeing a Moana card for the first time. That totally makes sense. And then finally, the weirdest product out of all of this, I think, is they're calling them portfolios. It's basically a card book that you can keep cards in. It only holds 64 cards and 8 oversized cards, so it's not going to be very big. They're going to show off Stitch and the Queen on the cover of that. Now, the Queen is one I'm not quite sure about. There is art on the main website for the evil Queen from Snow White, and I'm going to guess that's what they mean. There are obviously a lot of queens in Disney lore, but most of them have, names. The only one that's really referred to as the Queen is the Evil Queen. The only one I can think that could possibly be is the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, but I think most likely it's going to be the Queen from Snow White. Okay, so let's go back to new cards that were shown in all of that. Only a few. First of all, a brief mention for Jumba Jukiba from Lilo and Stitch. I was going to do a video today all about him because he was revealed on social media a few days ago. Obviously, he kind of fell out of the limelight quite quickly when all of this stuff was announced, but still worth mentioning. He is a 5-costed 4/5, and he's a Dreamborn alien inventor, otherwise seemingly vanilla, but still interesting. New card types there with inventor, and definitely leaning even more into the idea that hero and villain is just another keyword there, as opposed to being a core mechanic of the game. I know a lot of people were worried about it being sort of heroes versus villains. I think looking at the starter decks and seeing that some of the cards on the starter decks there are good and some are bad. You know, for instance, you know, Cruella de Vil and Aladdin, you classically think of Aladdin as a good guy and Cruella de Vil as a villain. So that suggests that that's out the window. And then here, seeing more cards now, we've had Olaf and Jumba that don't have either hero or villain on them, suggests that it isn't really like a core pillar, they're just more words similar to Aelin, Inventor, or what have you, to have some more sort of tribal effects or, you know, name matters effects. That also lines up then with Mulan and Hades. All we've seen of these so far is from the box art of the gift set, and a lot of the text is unreadable. I personally can't quite tell what they say, but a few people who probably got better eyesight than me reckon they've nailed it. So I am going to show you some mock-ups, but again, this is all wild speculation. None of this is confirmed yet, but they've given themselves a pretty good idea as to what these cards say. So Mulan is a 5-costed 4/5 in Ruby, and she's a Storyborn hero princess. And her ability says, lead by example. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 thing until for the turn. Cool. Until we really know what the +1 thing does, I can't necessarily say whether this is a good card or a bad card. Fantastic art, as always. It does, to me, both of these cards being shown here suggest more and more that these inks, these little nibs or whatever we're calling them, pips, are a win condition. I think that's what this is suggesting, is that we have to have so many of these on our board for us to win. That's personally what I think this is going to be, but again, it's all speculation. Hades, King of Olympus, a Floodborn villain, King Deity. So the second Floodborn we've seen, and this Floodborn again has the shift ability just like Stitch does. So again, that is lining up that Floodborn suggests that it's ink flooding over a card, as we talked about way back on the Stitch video. This is all sort of confirming a lot of that. Shift 6, you can pay 6 to play this card on top of one of your other characters named Hades. So most likely, I think even within a set, we are going to see multiple copies of the same character on different cards. I think it's pretty safe to say that we've seen 2 Mickeys now with the art of Sorcerer Mickey and the Brave Little Tailor card. So I think what we're going to see here is maybe the 13 or so movies that we've seen cards from now. That could be about it. There might be a couple more, but I think maybe now what we'll see is to start seeing variations within those. So we maybe see 3 or 4 different Aladdins, for instance, 1 or 2 genies, and then maybe a couple of Jafars and then a Iago ally or something like that. I think that's how we're probably going to see this now, because that's going to then give them so much scope for at least the sets coming in the future, recent future. You know, every sort of set hits sort of 8, 9, 10 different movies. It's going to take a lot longer for them to run out, rather than sticking, 50 different movies into one set and just having 2 or 3 cards from each of them. I think probably a good idea for them is going to be to kind of keep it to 8, 9, 10 IPs, and then having sort of 5, 6 cards from each of those IPs within. So that's how I think it's going to go. But again, all just speculation. So yeah, Shift 6, you can play it on top of another Hades. There's got to be a couple of Hades in there, else that isn't a very strong mechanic. And then Sinister Plot, we think it says this character gets +1 pip or whatever for every other villain character you have in play. Makes sense to me. It seems pretty solid. And again, that's the first time I think we've started to see those keywords be referenced in the rules text. So now, there you go. You can build a villain deck, and the top end of your villain deck is smacking down Hades. Boom, he gains 6 pips because you've already got 6 villains out, and it wins you the game. Again, we will find out later this year in the spring the full mechanics of the game, but it's all starting to shape up. If you just sort of start to put these jigsaw pieces together, it definitely seems like it's going to be playing down characters. They're going to gain you these pips, and then at the end of your round, probably at the end of your turn, if you have X number of pips, you win the game. Or it could be at the end of turn 5, for instance, once you've both taken 5 turns, whoever has the most of the pips then wins, or something like that. But either still, I will happily be corrected, and this is all speculation, but I genuinely think that's what we're seeing here, is the number of pips that you have on the board is the win condition of the game. So we've mentioned a few of them already, but I just want to quickly just give you a good look at all of this new awesome art that we have. Sorcerer Mickey, not quite new art. Obviously, this image seems to have been used in the promo materials already, but I think what we're seeing here is the actual art that's going to be used on his card, because now in the background we have the awesome the broomsticks there, the animated brooms from the Sorcerer's Apprentice that was part of Fantasia. Really great stuff. Beautiful art. He has the symbol there for him, and yeah, just love it. I think it's brilliant. Can't wait for that one. Next up we have Simba, again looking majestic. I imagine this is going to be a Storyborn card, you know, looks just straight out of the movie there, at least from what I can tell, but really great stuff. Don't know any of the artists on this. Somebody did ask, actually, Lorcana on Twitter, why we aren't getting the names of all the artists for this new art, and they've said it's specifically because they are planning to do something regarding that in the future. So I imagine we're going to start seeing some like artist profiles on their website, that kind of thing, and they want to sort of announce them with a bit more of a hurrah, which is totally cool. A lot of this is done by Nicholas Cole, I believe his name is, who's done a lot already. I think he said that so far, pretty much everything they've seen, there's been like everything on the boxes, at least, like 2 of them aren't his, but pretty much everything else is his. So they've obviously decided that he's one of the 2 or 3, like Luis Huerta, that are sort of championing the launch, but then they're going to start revealing more artists as the set goes on. Moana looking awesome again. I imagine a storyboard, excuse me, because she looks like she's pulled straight from the movie, but beautiful artwork for her there. Aladdin here with the ruby symbol, I believe that is. Dreamborn Aladdin, I think I will say it now, you can quote me on this, that's Aladdin King of Thieves. That's what I'm calling it now, Dreamborn Aladdin King of Thieves. Well, we'll see, because he looks like his dad did in the movie, right? Next up we have this beautiful Aurora. Again, I'm thinking Storyborn. It's got a classic look of her there from Sleeping Beauty, which is fantastic. So now we have her and Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. We still haven't seen Snow White to go alongside the Queen, but I definitely think she's coming. Maleficent then, a lot of people might not realise this, the first time we've seen her. So far we've seen her as a dragon, and we've seen the Dragon Fire card, but now we're seeing her in her sort of human form. Interestingly, I think different colour from dragon, so that's interesting, that sort of the same character technically can be different colours. Probably that's, you know, real good sort of movement with design space. We're not always going to see red Mickeys or what have you, so that's really good. So there you go, there's the new 6 arts. Looking forward to seeing the cards that go with them. And then the only other ones, like I say, that have kind of been half revealed is the Queen there, beautiful art that can pretty much only be found on the website, the official website's header. I've not found that anywhere else. And then the mention of the word Maui on one of the accessory pages. Again, I'd be surprised if they make art for him on a card sleeve and not make a card out of it. Usually card sleeves, dex boxes, they just use the art that's on cards already. Makes sense for them to do that here as well. Woo! I think that's everything. Again, hell of an info dump, and I apologize just for all out at you, but I did feel like this was the better way rather than making multiple videos about it. I hope you got yourself a nice cup of tea and sat down and enjoyed this one. Moving forward, depending on how they announce things, we'll probably look at doing one of these like roundup videos where maybe we look at everything that's been talked about over the week or over 2 weeks or something like that. But it really depends on how much they ramp up the announcements now as we move forward towards the release. Obviously, spring we're going to be getting gameplay rules, things like that. We will be obviously producing lots of videos about that, and I'm going to try, although I'm not really a tabletop simulator guy, obviously I'm going to be trying to get in on there and seeing if we can actually start generating some gameplay, or at least sort of, tutorially type stuff, so we can all have a good idea of what's going on as we move forward into the release in August. And again, it's not 100% confirmed yet, but I'm going to be trying my best to get down to Gen Con, so I'll be able to show you all, if you're not able to make it, what it looks like down there and what they have on offer. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you are new here, don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Until then, be good.